Hey, this is MJ, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this nice heart washcloth. This can be used all seasons, but I'm specifically making this for my girls for Valentine's Day. I'm making up little spa gift packs with bath bombs. So that's an idea that you can think about, but it would also look great in your kitchen as well for Valentine's Day. I'm using Mary Maxim dishcloth cotton. There's 100 grams on one of these balls, and a cloth is about 85 grams. So from 2 balls, you can make 2 dishcloths. So you're also going to need a yarn needle for weaving in your ends and a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I'm using a Susan Bates hook, but you can use whatever brand you like. Our cloth is nice and large, and it measures approximately 12 inches by 11.5 inches. You can go to the blog and follow along with the written pattern, or you can purchase a PDF in one of my shops. So let's begin by making a slip knot. We'll put that on our hook. Now I'm using the color rose, so I'm just going opposite from the cloth that I already made, and we'll chain 40. Okay, so I have 40 chains, and now we'll work 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So there's the first, and there's the second. Okay. And we'll single crochet in every chain across. Pushing through, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Pull through 2, and just continue with that all the way along your chain so that you have 39 single crochet stitches. Okay, so I've worked across my chain, so I have 39 single crochet stitches, and now we'll turn our work and chain 1. Our chain 1 won't be included as a stitch, and we're going to work into that very first stitch right here. If you turn your work, you can see the little V's, that's your stitches. So we're just going under, making sure to go under both loops, pulling your yarn up, yarn over, pulling through 2. So go through the stitch, making sure both loops, pulling up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So this part of the pattern is very simple. We're just going to single crochet in every stitch across, and we're going to do a total of 10 rows. So I'm on row 2, and I'm going to do a total of 10 before I begin graphing in the heart. So at the end of every row, you'll turn, chain 1, and work 1 single crochet in every stitch across. So I'll meet you back when I've completed my 10 rows. Okay, so I've worked up 10 rows. Just want to give you a little trick for counting if you're new. See how you see these ridges here? Well, every time you get to 1, it's 2 rows. So if you count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you can evenly see there that you've worked 10 rows. So our right side is odd number rows. So I'm going to just chain 1 and turn. So now this is a good idea to pull up either the graphic or the written pattern on the blog so you can follow along, or have a printed copy of the PDF. I like following the written pattern myself. So I will work 19 single crochet stitches, 1 which we're going to call the main color, and then I'll do 1 stitch in the contrast color. So chain 1, work 1 single crochet in each of the next 19. So I'll work across 18 stitches and I'll meet you on the 19th. Okay, so I've worked 18. So we'll change color on the 19th stitch. So go through, pulling up a loop, and now we'll yarn over with our contrast color. Pull through. You want to carry along your main color. So we're going to go through the stitch, making sure the pink, our main color yarn, we're under the stitch, we're pulling up a loop. Now we're going to drop off our contrast color and yarn back over with the main color. So just 1 stitch and then we'll work 1 single crochet in each of the next 19 stitches across. Okay, so for row 11, that's all we do. So I'll continue working this off camera and I'll meet you back on row 12. Okay, so here we are to row 12. So now what's going to happen as our heart gets bigger, show you this here. As our heart gets bigger, what we'll do is 1 stitch less in our main color and 1 stitch more on this side, 1 stitch more on this side in our contrast color. Okay, so this row 12, will have 3 stitches in our contrast color, and then we'll have 5, 7, etc. So this time, chain 1, we'll work 18 stitches across instead of 19, but I'll work across to 17 and then I will show you again how to change color. So I'll work across and meet you back up. Okay, so I've worked 17 stitches. So I'm going into the 18th. I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to keep always my tails to my wrong side. As you can see, we're working on the wrong side and we have this tail, this tail here to remind us. And now I'm going to yarn over with the contrast color. Now I want to carry the main color along. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to push through that stitch, pulling up, yarn over, pull through, going through the next stitch, and make sure always you go under the stitch and also the yarn you're carrying is over the hook. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, and instead of yarning over with our cream, we're going to bring that, keeping this to our wrong side, just move that out of the way, yarn over with the main color, and now we're going to continue working across in the main color. So you should be working 18 stitches. So I'll complete working that across and then I'll meet you for row 13. Okay, so now we're on to row 13 and we're working 17 stitches across in the main color and 5 in our contrast color. So let's begin working across again. And I'll work 16 and I'll meet you on the 17th stitch. Okay, so I've worked 16. So here's the 17th stitch, go through, pull up a loop, and now remember, we're just picking up the contrast color, yarn over with the contrast color, and remember to carry along the main color here. So go through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through. So we're going to have 5, because we're just going up by 2. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. So go through the stitch, make sure our carrying yarn is over the hook. Pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's our 5th stitch. And now we'll drop off our cream, keeping it to the back and yarning over with our pink. And we work across 17 stitches. So I'll continue working across off camera and I'll meet you up for row 4. So here I am at row 14. I've already turned and chained 1. We're back to our wrong side. And for this row, we will work 16 stitches in the main color pink and 7 in our contrast color cream. So I'll work across and I'll meet you again when we're going to change the color, just so that you're sure that I'm sure you've got the hang of how we're switching up colors here. So I've worked 15. Here's my 16th stitch. Yarn over, pull through, and we want to be sure that we're carrying our pink yarn along. Going through. So we have 7 in our contrast. And if you're not confident with your single crochet stitch, you can go watch my beginner video and make sure you understand how to do this stitch before you attempt this pattern, because I do go through it fairly quickly. Okay, so we're going through, and now we're going to drop off again the cream to the back, our wrong side, and yarn over, and then we'll work 16 across. So now this is quite repetitive for a bit, so I'm going to let you know how many rows I want you to work in this pattern. So a total of 22 rows. So every row we're going to keep doing the same thing, reducing 1 stitch on every side of our heart, increasing the contrast color 1 stitch. So exactly what we're doing here. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and we're going to go all the way up so that our heart in the center here, the contrast color, has a total of 23 stitches. So we have 23 stitches here. Let's look at our heart. 23 stitches, and we only have 8 stitches of our main color on either side. Okay, so I'm going to work this off camera. And if you're unsure, again, just go to the blog and follow along with the written pattern. But you're just going to keep increasing this by 2s all the way up to having 23 stitches in our contrast and 8 stitches on either side in the main color. Okay, so I've done 1 row with 8, 23, and 8 stitches. Now we need to do 3 more rows exactly the same. So I'll work through 1 with you. So 1, 2, 3, 'So there's 8. Yarn over with our contrast and carrying along the pink yarn. our main color. We're just working in every stitch, so you should have 23. Okay, so this is 23, and then we drop off the cream, picking up our pink, and you should have 8 stitches that you're working. And so now you're just doing the same row here 2 more times. So in total you have 4 rows. So in total you have 4 rows that are 8 stitches, 23 stitches, 8. Okay, so I've completed 4 rows, all the same. So now we're on to row 26. And so now for row 26, we start increasing how many pink we have and decreasing how many of the contrast. So we'll do 9 in the main color pink, we'll do 21 in our contrast, and 9 in the main color pink again. So let me work through this with you. Okay, so we're going into our contrast color here, and then we're yarning over and carry along the pink as we go. So we'll do 21 stitches in our contrast cream. Okay, so now I'm on to row 28, and we're gonna work 11 stitches in our main color. So 1, 2. Okay, so my 11th stitch, we're working into the cream. So yarn over, and now we're gonna work 7 stitches in our cream color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we'll do 3 stitches in pink. We want to carry along the cream. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to switch back to cream and work 7, carrying along the pink. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put the cream to the wrong side, and now we're going to yarn over again with pink and work 11 stitches across in our pink. Then I'll meet you up for row 29. Okay, so this is going to be our last row with changing colors. So we're going to work over 12 stitches in our main color. So chain 1, work over 12. Okay, so I'm getting to my 12th stitch here. So now we're going to drop off the pink, yarn over with our cream, and we're going to work 5 stitches in cream. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we'll drop that off, yarn over with our pink, and we're going to do 5 stitches in pink. So there's 1, make sure you're carrying along the cream, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we'll change back to cream and do 5 stitches in cream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we'll finish working across in our main color. So now we can trim off the cream yarn. Whoops, I ended up putting it to the right side. So let me just pull this back. Wasn't paying attention. That's our wrong side, so just leave it to the back. We'll just do a few stitches here. So this is the wrong side, so we're going to trim the cream. We won't need that again until we get to the border. So you can finish working across in the pink, our main color. And then we'll work 10 rows like we did at the beginning in the pink. Okay, so I'm on to row 30. So in total, we're gonna have 39 rows. So at this point, you're just chaining 1 at the beginning of every row and working 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Okay, so I'm going to complete those rows off camera, and then I'm going to meet you back up to show you how to make our border that's going to go around the cloth. Okay, so I have completed my 10 rows. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So now we're going to start working around the edges of the cloth. So here's our very last stitch, so that's stitch 39. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to work another single crochet into that same stitch. And now we're going to work 1 single crochet each space down along the edge. And as you can see, for every row you're adding a single crochet stitch. So we're going to count the 1 here as our first. So 1, 2, 3. So work down 38 stitches. So here's our 38th stitch, and now our 39th will go in the corner and chain 2 and another single crochet in that same stitch, and then we'll work across this side 38 stitches. So that one counts as 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I've worked across 38. So now in the corner, we'll do 1, chain 2, and 1 back down in that same stitch. So that counts as our first stitch, and then we'll work a total of 38 stitches up. If you just count, you're sure that you have a complete square. Okay, so I've worked 38. So 39, chain 2, and another in that same stitch, and now we'll work all the way back across to where we started. Okay, so I've worked across 39 stitches, and now we're back here to our chain 2 space corner. So let's slip stitch into that corner, chain 1, and we'll work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that chain 2 space. Now we're going to work in the back loops of every stitch. So there's 1, so right up until you get to your next chain 2 space. So work in the back loops only. So you're working down through the center of the stitch, going up and through the back loop only. Okay, so I have reached my chain 2 space. So we'll do a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in that space, and then find the first stitch there and work in the back loops. And you're just going to repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back up to the corner, and we'll be changing to the cream yarn at that point. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. Now I'm going to slip stitch into that starting single crochet to join, and I'm going to fasten that off. And now I'll join into my corner with the cream. And we'll do a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into the corner. And now we'll work in the back loop only of every stitch, and when we reach the chain 2 space, we'll do a single, chain 2, and a single. And I'm just going to weave this end down to get it out of the way. And I'm just going to weave it in. Okay, so I've worked back around. So I've worked across 41 in the back loops, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that first, single crochet to join, and I'm going to slip stitch down into the chain 2 space, chain 1, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then I'll work in the back loops only of every stitch around, and when we get to the chain 2 spaces, we single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Okay, so I've worked over now 43 stitches in the back loop. We'll slip stitch to join, and again I'm going to do one more round, so we'll go into that chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And just keep counting as you go around, again, to ensure that you have the same. This should be 45 now in the back loop, just that you have the same amount of stitches going all the way around for each side. So I'll meet you up when I'm finished this round. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end, so 45. Slip stitch into that first single crochet to join, and then we can fasten off. Let's take a look. You just want to stretch it out to make sure. So now it should be about 12 by 12. Let's take a measure and see how my gauge was. And about 11 and a half. Probably if you stretch it out, yeah, 12. So now what you want to do is weave in all these ends. Just weave them on the wrong side here. You just want to hide them. And always make sure when you're weaving you go one way and then go back into the opposite direction. And just pull to make sure you don't distort the cloth. So I'm just going to weave all my ends in. Okay, so I've weaved all my ends in. Here are my 2 cloths that I made from 2 balls of our Mary Maxim dishcloth cotton. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.